So there's 5 steps. There's 5 steps to any business. Got to locate those prospects. We're not going to talk much about that today because that's 2-3 day seminars right there on locating prospects. And I actually have 2-3 day seminars recorded on just that subject, talking to not only my students who are doing well, interviewing what they're doing, and then another one where I'm talking to the vendors who actually generate leads for us and find out what they do and how they do and how they get paid for it and all that. But not today. All right. We got to locate them. We got to pre-screen them. Frankly, your virtual assistant fills out the property information sheet for you. So there ain't a lot for you to do on the front end there. And then after you pre-screen them, now you got to kick in and make one closing call, and I'll give you the script. And let seller make you an offer by asking the questions. And then we've got to get an agreement when we come to terms on the agreement. And then we got to get it, our buyer in our hands, and then get the title company to close on as quickly as possible and get paid. And then do it over and over and over again. So I use realtors today. And I use FSBOs. Well, I'm telling you, all the deals come from FSBOs, not from realtors. But I am hooked up. My sister, Barbara, who's on vacation this week, hooked me up into the MLS system. And every day I get leads from Barbara. Nick, can you give me the overhead here for a minute? Uh-oh. All right. Anyway, I'll show you when he gets back. But every day, here comes these houses. Now, I set the parameters. In case you want to write this down, it may or may not apply to you. My parameters are, I don't want anything that is listed for more than $150,000. That means listed now, not ARV. And I don't want any less than a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. I don't want any less than 1,000 square feet. And then I put in the 3 counties where I want these houses in. Now, once I set those parameters, or actually Barbara set them, I have nothing to do with it. So now it's on autopilot. And every day I get an email. I mean, like 10 or 15 a day. All right. But most of them get deleted. And when she gets back here, I'll show you how. So getting set up on these junkers is pretty easy, and it's free. So now when I see one I like, I'll pull it up and I'll take a look at the pictures of the inside and the outside, and I can quickly sit here at my desk and estimate repairs, or Adel, my acquisitionist partner, estimates the repairs for me. And frankly, after you do that for a little while, it ain't hard. But here, Nick comes back now. I'm going to just show you the actual. Now, don't ask me what app it is. It ain't really an app. It's something that the realtor sends you. They set it up. It's on autopilot. Barbara has nothing to do with delivering them every day. In fact, if I had to have a human delivering them every day, I know that would fall off the cliff very quickly. So I want it on autopilot. And Nick's going to turn it on any minute now, aren't you, Nick? Okay. He said yes. You got to go to a realtor now. Just tell them you want an automatic supply of houses that meet that criteria wherever you live. I use 150. Now, look, my median income here in Jacksonville is well over $200,000 now. But remember, I want the ones that are listed at way below the R, because I know they need repairs. I don't get any houses on here that don't need repairs. But if I raise this thing from 150 on up to 200 or so, I start to get a whole bunch of retail houses that don't even need repair. Okay, here's what it looks like. And then I punch on this button right here. And over here, it brings up the house. All right. So what is this one? This one is a 4-bedroom, 1 bath, 1,084 square feet, I guess. Okay. It's just a normal little bread and butter box houses. If you've been in this business, you've seen 100 of them already or more. So now let's go to the picture. Okay, don't look too bad. At least it's got a kitchen. Some of them don't. Nice yard. There you go. You can see it's not really a classy kitchen repair, but somebody's renovated this house. All right. That's about all I'm going to get on this one. Now you see up here that the asking price is $149,900. All right. Well, I know that neighborhood. And I don't even have to look to know that if I were to pay $149,900 for this and spend a little money to get it in shape, I know that the ARV ain't going to be more than about the 180, 190. But just because I know that on this one, but that's not necessarily true. So what I would do here, as which you're going to do for yourself, I'm going to go back here and I'm just going to forward it to Adel here. And I'm going to say, hey, that's my code for ARV. Go get the ARV on it and tell me what you think it'll cost to repair it and get back to me. Okay. And I'm going to set send. Okay. You just saw me send a real live lead from Barbara. Now he's going to come back and tell me that ARV is too low. Let's say the ARV is 200 on that house. All right. Ain't no way I'm going to pay 149.9 for it. How am I going to make any money? Because these are all cash deals, you know. That's way more. So I'm going to give you the formula here in a little bit. All right, Nick, to determine whether you're paying too much or not. Like we just had a question a while ago. A gentleman has a house worth 600 and he's offering 525 cash. Well, that's a deal I'd never do. Never do. So let's come back to that when I talk about how to formulate MAO, maximum allowable offer. All our houses need rehab. In this business, we're dealing with junker houses, period. And I'm going to tell you, the lower you get in value, the more of them are available, because those are the people that can't afford to pay for the repairs when they need it. Something goes wrong in their life, their house is going to suffer for it. Got to go down where the money is. That's also where your first-time home buyers is, if you want to rehab them and retail them, or you want to wholesale them to people that will rehab them and retail them. Same rules apply. All right. Step 2, our VAs will collect the information from the FSBO leads. Now, excuse me, you got to collect the FSBO leads by doing your own marketing and having the sellers contact you, or we will also deliver them to you as a member of our Gold Club, which we'll talk about tomorrow afternoon for measly $59 a month, a whole bunch of other goodies. And they will be in your 2 counties that you pick. But your VAs will also, if you ask them to, go online and call FSBOs online and then call them and send you the property information sheet. So you're never going to, when the MLS lead, you don't ever talk to the seller. You never meet the seller. You don't even really know who the seller is because your realtor is doing all the work. You submit the offer to a realtor. And when this comes back from Adel, if I looked at the house, don't look like it needs much work, but I've got to the point where I want somebody to look at the house before I make the offer on it, because we've had to retract a couple of them because we got the offer accepted before we go. But Adel's not going to go until the numbers we see are good enough for us to go. So they're asking 149.9. I know right now we're not going to buy that house because somebody's already renovated and there just ain't going to be enough spread in it to make me want to buy it. There's your property information sheet that the VAs will fill out for you. Saves you a lot of time, a lot of grief. And immediately you will know whether it's a rehab or a terms deal, because down there where it says, does the house need any work? It's going to say, yes. Yeah. What's your best guess? Oh, $50,000. All right. We know it's a rehab deal. We know it's not a terms deal. Now, what if it says that the house needs maybe $2,000, $3,000 worth of work? Okay. It might be a terms deal. So then we're going to get on the phone and use my term script and find out if they're interested in terms at all, which, by the way, is 1 paragraph to determine whether they're interested in all. That's a 1-minute phone call if they're not interested in terms at all. Now, if it's a cash deal, because we need rehab, here's your big, long script. You want to write it down. This has only been working for me for about 42 years, so it might continue to work where you're at. If I pay you all cash, what's the least you could take? And those are words you should commit to memory and use the rest of your life on anything you ever do inside or outside. And after you get the answer to that question, now, is that the best you can do? 7 best words in the English language when it comes to getting a good deal. And that's both buying and selling now, because they use the same words with buyers. Is that the best you can do? The key is shut up and ask it like you expect to get a positive answer. So on an all cash deal, that's it right there. And I'll know pretty quickly whether I'm interested in the house or not. And because I'll also teach you how to go online and get the ARV, the after repaired value. And you'll know immediately before you even call a seller, is that the best you can do? So after you learn the formula, I'm going to show you here in a minute. So all your leads are either terms deals or cash deals or no deal. Most of them will be no deal. I don't want to leave you with the impression that you call a handful of leads and you're going to get a deal or two out of it. That may or may not be true, because that depends on the quality of the lead and the distress of the seller. 90 seconds. You should be off the phone in 90 seconds if it's not a terms deal or if it's not a cash deal. It just doesn't take very long, because my script, right in my first paragraph of my script, after I introduce myself, says, well, listen, my assistant got information from you yesterday on the house, and she said that you might be interested in options other than cash. Is that true? If that's true, then you go into your term script. Got all the benefits of being doing terms. But if that's not true, the next question is, well, then if you have to have all cash at closing, what's the least you could take? And then they get that answered for you, and then you follow up if there's anything to follow up on. I'm going to tell you, if the house is pretty in a nice neighborhood, it is very unlikely you're going to buy it for an all cash price. Very unlikely, unless you want to overpay for it. And we're not going to overpay. That's a mistake so many investors make, because they're not trained. Either that, or they're trained and they don't listen. And usually men, because us men, if it's working perfectly, we got to fix it. So no, you don't, man. No, you don't. So the script does all the work on the front end to see if you're going to have a deal or not. And you want to write this down, I can tell you right now, most sellers are worthless, at least to you. The majority of your leads are worthless. So you got to clearly understand that you've got to call X number of leads before you get one that says, yes, I'm interested. And that's going to depend on the quality of the leads. The more sellers call you, the better quality they are. The more it comes off the line, the lesser quality they are. But I got to tell you right now, every time we do a live boot camp, our mentors are in class calling sellers, and their only leads that our attendees bring in are the ones that our virtual assistant generated at that time, because that's basically all they've been trained before they get to the boot camp to do, is let our VAs do the work for them. So we got to work on getting quality leads, which I will certainly do when we get together, and if you want to continue your training. So remember, we don't make offers. Remember, I didn't make an offer. I said, what's the least you could take if we pay all cash? And then I shut up, wait for the answer. Is that the best you can do? Wait for another answer. They made me an offer. When I'm asking terms questions, I ask questions like, what's the least you could take if we work out the rest of the terms? They made me an offer. We usually buy with nothing down. Okay. If they say, okay, they made me an offer. So I've learned to let them talk, let them answer questions, and you answer their questions with questions, all part of your training. And of course, when you get a number you like, you got to get the contract signed. Now, the reality is that nowadays, way more contracts are signed virtually than they are meeting somebody at a house. And that's especially true if the house is ugly and it's vacant, because there's nobody to meet there. So you're going to look at the house, though. You're going to get a feel for what the kind of work the house needs. But I'm telling you, you can do that online good enough to get a contract. Because if you have to have every I dotted and every T crossed before you actually submit a contract, your competition is going to beat you to the punch. You get the contract first. Worst case, you can't honor the contract and you bow out of it. All you'll lose is your $100 deposit, or whatever amount it is, $10 if you're dealing with a FSBO. It's going to be $1,000 though if you're dealing with an MLS. So if you put up $1,000 deposit and then you back out, you're going to lose that $1,000. However, most of the contracts with realtors give you X number of days to go look at the house and make sure you want the deal before you get out. But you're still going to have the contract. If it's an MLS contract, it's definitely going to be virtual. The realtor will send it to you. If it's an individual contract, most of them are still sent by email after you come to terms with an oral agreement. There's what the contract looks like. That's the front page, and the back page is about the same. Our contracts are one page, front and back, simple or easier to understand, no fancy language, and you won't be using one of my contracts unless you have something in the system that tells you what to fill in where based on the type of deal. So you'll have examples to follow. Pretty easy. In fact, an all-cash contract is the easiest one you'll ever fill out, period. I can fill out any contract on any type of deal you send me in less than 90 seconds, because it ain't about, before you ever use a contract, you should be reading the thing to see what's in all these paragraphs. And all you got to do is start with the blanks at the top and go on down. And if you're going to go out and meet somebody, you should fill it out before you go and just leave the blanks blank that you haven't negotiated to a final number on yet. Our contracts are very simple, but very effective all over America. You need three things before agreeing to a price. Number one, you need to know the R, after repaired value. Guys, I don't care what somebody says the as-is value is. That's pretty irrelevant to me. I care what the after repaired value is, and so does your buyer if you're wholesaling it. Now, if you're using our CRM called Dreams, which you will see tomorrow afternoon explained by one of the creators of it, it's a system that literally runs your office for you, and it also has comps on there. And frankly, it's got the easiest place that it's online today to get comps. They're all right there in line item form, and you can compare one to the other. And I will teach you in the systems that you're offered how to get at that R. In fact, you'll learn that in my wholesale course. And of course, if you come see me live, that's one of the things we do on the second day. We go online to our system and find out what the after repaired value is, the properties that we're working on right there. So it's very important because most people don't do anything to determine the R. They go on Zillow and look at the Zestimate. Well, that is a kiss of death. That will cost you a lot of deals because most of the time the Zestimate on Zillow is well below the market value. And I'll prove that to you in class. You'll see for yourself. Now, that's good if your seller's doing that because they're already underpricing their house without even knowing it. I think the Zestimate is what the price, the value is. Not true. Just not true. Repair guesstimate, same way. That seems to bother people. But if you see a picture of the inside of the house, you can tell whether it needs rehabbed or whether it needs partial rehabbed. Just like I just showed you the pictures of that house. Somebody's already supposedly rehabbed it. However, that doesn't mean it doesn't need rehab. It doesn't even work. I always assume that it does. But it does mean that it ain't no junker sitting out there with the sheetrock all torn off the walls and needs a total rehab. So I can look at the pictures of the house and tell you what the repair costs are going to be. And so can Adel, and so can anybody that's been in this business very long at all. We deal with an average on a 1,200 square foot house, give or take. You can only spend so much money on a 1,200 square foot house. And that's if it needs a ton of money. Most of the houses that I get, or you're going to get, are going to need a roof. You're going to need a kitchen, probably a bathroom, almost always flooring, quite often central heat and air. And of course, paint every single time, paint in, paint out, sometimes one or the other. When you understand that all of these repairs cost the same thing based on the house at that price range, you're easily be able to add all of that up and then throw a miscellaneous column at it, which is, I use a minimum of 20% of the other numbers. And frankly, I almost always put more miscellaneous on it than I think it's going to need. This is all training. It's all training. But I see a lot of people out there just throwing numbers. We put a house on the market a couple months ago, wholesale. And then, by the way, this is one that a tenant moved in it for 12 years and then moved out. I never touched it in 12 years. But it needed rehab after she moved out. So I put it out on a wholesale. I just didn't want to rehab it. And man, you wouldn't believe the stupid offers we got on that house. Stupid offers. Ton of calls. Poor old Tish took a ton of calls. And some of them were throwing in offers like I know several of them were half of the asking price. Now, if that's the way you're going to run your business, you're going to be very, very disappointed with your results because the asking price from any investor is way above half of the, they won't accept anywhere near half of the price you put it on the market for. It's just plain ridiculous. And we tell them this is a ridiculous offer. Go back to class. Never hear from them again. So when we're taking these calls nowadays, one of the first things I'm going to ask them is, have you seen the house? If you haven't seen the house, we won't accept an offer until you have seen the house. And guess what? That's what the MLS has gone to as well. They put right in their ads. You must see the house before we'll accept your offer. Why? Because now we don't have to worry about accepting their offer. Then they go see the house and then they want to back out. I had 2 or 3 of those do that just on that one house. All this is explained in your system on wholesaling. So you can go through it step by step and not have to learn some of those hard lessons. Again, I don't need to see the house, but I need to see photos of the inside of the house. And I can sit there and and that's assuming they're not already online. If this thing comes through the MLS, they're already online. But again, I learned once I get the numbers, if the numbers make sense, Al goes and looks at the house before we make the offer so that I don't have to retract it after we get the offer accepted. And you can write this down. All your rehabs in this general square footage are going to be 40,000, 50,000, 60,000. They're going to be one of those three because you can't spend much more on that on a 1,200 square foot house anyway. So I mean, your best thing you're going to do is look at the pictures and throw a number at it. And of course, if you let me train you, that number is going to be more sophisticated. But right now, that's better than just throwing an offer out there, not knowing what the repair costs are going to be or whatever, and throwing spaghetti against the wall and hope some of it sticks. I'm going to tell you right now, your realtors won't even take a stupid offer today. And don't worry, you ain't going to do the repairs now. When I say repairs are 50,000, that doesn't mean I'm going to do the repairs. But isn't my buyer looking at it the same way? I'm going to pay this. I'm going to spend this on repairs. Am I going to make enough money to satisfy my needs? And good news is a lot of people are out there rehabbing houses today that are happy with a $20,000 profit renovating a house. I'd rather have a root canal on both sides with no anesthetic than to go renovate a house and go through all of that stuff you got to go through for a lousy 20 grand. I'd just go out and flip a house and make twice that much money and not lay my hands on it. So if I renovate a house, I want big money in it. You're not going to raise money unless you want to buy the house, pay cash for it, and renovate it. You don't need to raise money in the wholesaling business unless you want to close on the house. Sometimes you will. So I'll show you where to get all the private money you want, and nobody's going to pull your credit or get an application on you. And I'm not talking about the hard money lenders who want to charge points and put you on a short term and charge you high interest rates. That's not where we get money. We get money from human beings who have money in their bank account or an IRA or whatever that they'd like to get a high rate of return on, like about 8%, rather than leaving it at the bank at the percentage that they're paying. Guys, I'm telling you, it's very easy to get private money once you get started. Pretty soon you'll have more than you can possibly use. And that's assuming you want to renovate houses or close on them so you can own them, take your time exiting from them, because I'll give you 2 or 3 different exit strategies other than wholesaling it and other than rehabbing it and selling it to an owner occupant. The third thing you got to know is the MAO, the maximum allowable offer. Okay. The formula is very simple. The MAO equals the ARV times 70% minus the repairs. So if I got a $200,000 ARV, 70% is 140 minus 40 equals 100,000. So my MAO is $100,000. Now, what does it say right below that, folks? In great big dark black letters. I'll never pay MAO. I will never pay MAO. I should be selling it at about MAO. Remember, if my buyer buys it, they're going to have to do the $40,000 renovation as well. So they're going to want to leave enough money in it for them. And I'm telling you, if I agree to buy this thing at $100K, I'm not going to be able to mark it up much. Let's say I mark it up to 120. Okay, that means the buyer is going to be in it for 160. And not many of these buyers are going to be settling for that small spread, because that doesn't mean that he's going to get $40,000 net like they show on those television shows. No, when you start thinking about cost of selling it with a realtor, or the holding costs, like the taxes accruing, the insurance, which is increasingly getting higher, mowing the lawn, pay the electric bill and all of that, and then Murphy on top of that, and the realtor cost if you want to hire a realtor, and which I do. If I renovate a house, I list it with a realtor and get it out of here. So there ain't going to be much left. So most investors will not pay $100,000 for that house, assuming it needs 40. They'll pay close to that though. So if I'm going to sell it at 100, I better be buying it less than 100. So I don't ever pay MAO. I try not to ever come close to MAO. In fact, let's look at these pictures. Let's see if I practice what I preach here. I showed you these earlier. All right. The ARV is 175, but look at my purchase price, 48. Now look at my MAO, 72.5. Did I come close to MAO? Not even close. Okay. Now you're not going to ever get that deal on an MLS. Trust me. You got to go to the world of FSBOs to get deals like that. The MLS will mark that thing up to where you probably will never be able to buy it. All right. Let's see if let's see. So I netted 37, but I'm way below Mayo, and that's why I netted it. All right, my Mayo on this one is 121, and it needed 40 in repairs. So I'm way below Mayo at purchase price of 60. I mean, I'm so far away from Mayo, it's ridiculous. There's no way I could lose money on that house. But that's what the seller asked. So that's what I gave him. Now, here's one I bought at the courthouse, which is not on the steps. We buy them online nowadays. So we overpaid a little for this one, in my opinion. In fact, Adel made the offer before I even heard about it. He wound up at 202 cash, and the Mayo was 167. Let's see, 50 in repairs, if that's right. 167. I paid 202 for it. So I wound up not making much money on it. And all because I paid more than I should have. You'd think you buy a house for 202 and sell it for 310, and you make a ton of money. But not when it's got $50,000 worth of repairs and a realtor's cost. And I mean, that house needed everything, including the roof. In fact, I put the roof on it before I decided to go ahead and wholesale it and get it out of here, because I just didn't feel like holding on to that property. The holding costs and the other costs would eat up any profit. Not all of it, but look, here's what I said to myself. I figured it out, and I think I'd net 40 grand if I renovated it. But now I netted 27 grand without doing anything other than putting a roof on it. What would you do? Wait 6 months to get your 40, or take your 27 now, and not also be worrying about my price is going to go down during that holding period? Decisions you're going to have to make. But if you buy them right, they're easy to make. Get the money now, or get more if I want to do the work. Here's one that I bought for $79,000. This is one I haven't never seen. Adel told me the repairs were 35. So the Mayo was 93.5, and I bought it for 79, well below Mayo. I still only netted $15,000 on it. So now, what if I'd have paid Mayo? So if I paid Mayo, I'd have paid 93.5, and I sold it for 99.9. Not much difference, is there? Another one. Mayo is 49. Purchased 41.5, didn't get it much below Mayo, which is why we didn't get more than 13.5 on it. So I think you get the point. By the way, 3 of those were FSBOs. One of them was from a foreclosure auction, and one was from the MLS that I just showed you. So you're not going to get all your deals from one source. I think 2 of those FSBOs, we mailed a postcard to a probate deal, and I can't remember where the other one came from. I think it came from an online lead. Online lead. So that's 145 in just those 5 houses. Now, look, take a look at these houses, guys and gals. Come on. They're not a neighborhood you want to live in. And even if they're not in a war zone, they're still not a neighborhood you want to live in, okay? You are here. You have ability to go out and make a bunch of money. You don't have to live in these kind of neighborhoods. But these are the ones you make the money in. I can't impress upon you. You haven't seen a pretty house yet today, except the one I bought this morning. I bought it on terms. And none of these houses is going to impress you, I hope. But that's where your business is, in the wholesale part of the industry and the rehab. I got no credit. I used no money. Yeah, I did on one of them, okay. Except I did pay the closing costs, some of them. All cash deals, I don't pay all the closing costs. In fact, I pay very little, and sometimes none. But if there is no down payment to the seller, I'm going to pay all the closing costs, but that'd be a terms deal. No banks, no contractors, no appraisers, no realtors, no other costly entanglements, no applications, nobody to suck up to. Get a contract to buy it, check title, put on market, get check. No payments on houses. You don't own the houses. You're going to see dozens like this. When you come in our building, you're going to see dozens and dozens like this on all throughout both of our buildings. And I want yours too. We get testimonials every single week in here. So if you're in the city where the house is, you can visit it. But if you're not, just agree on a number and get a contract signed, and then have somebody go visit it. Okay. Remember, you're under no pressure to buy it. If you put a contract on it and you back out of it, All you'll lose is your earnest money deposit, and that's never going to be more than $100 to a FSBO. And usually it's $10. You order title search, you can advertise on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. You probably will not need to advertise anyplace else. And you're going to start getting tons of calls from investors. You're going to select your buyer, and there's an art to that, which is in this course that you're getting today. And that in itself is worth the whole course, because that'll save you a whole lot of time and also save you from getting tangled up with the wrong kind of buyers. So one of the questions I ask them, have you seen the house? They say yes. Okay. And I'm asking, I don't know, whatever I'm asking, 150,000 or whatever. They're going to try to beat me down. I understand that. That's what I teach. So I expect that from my students or their students or their students. I'm going to say, well, no, I need 150 out of it. So if they can't agree with my price, then I'm still going to ask them, well, just for the heck of it, what will you pay? But I can tell you, if they can't agree with my price because I'm pricing it too high, hoping for that greater fool, and there's plenty of them out there that really have no idea what they're doing, that'll grossly overpay for the house. So once we come to an agreement, I'm going to send them an assignment of contract like this one, one page, one simple page, which is in your book. And I want them to sign it, and I want them to send it back to me with a $1,000 deposit on Cash App or Zelle or however you want to do it. That's all there is to it. And now I send this to my closing agent when I get it signed and deposit, along with the purchase and sale agreement. Purchase and sale agreement is already filled out and signed by the seller before I ever start even advertising to sell this house. And guys, please don't, if you are out here selling houses that you don't have an agreement to buy, you're breaking the law. You're acting as a realtor without a license. It's only a matter of time you're going to get caught. You have got to have that house under contract before you put it on the market to sell. And then you make sure you're up on your assignment rules where you live, because this is a document where you would disclose that you're only selling the contract, not the house. All right. So now you wait for the closing agent. Another question I ask them before I do this, I said, how fast can you close? And if they say, well, I need 30 days, well, that's telling me they want to tie up my house and go wholesale it. I don't need them to do that. I can do that myself. If they say I want to close as soon as we can, then I know I got a real buyer. Okay. So I haven't left my desk to do any of this actually until we come to a deal. Then I go take a look at the house, and that's the last time I'll ever see that house. And I never lay a finger on it. I never touch it. I never buy it. Don't have to come up with money unless I want to. Again, if I want to come up with the money, I'm going to go to a private lender. I'm going to write a check. But when I write a check to buy a property that's wholesale, I know I don't have to worry about losing any money, because there's plenty of buyers out there that will pay more than I paid for that property. So when I write a check, when I write a big check, I expect to get a bigger check back very quickly, or I will not write the check and leave it in the house. We don't bury money in real estate. Real estate is the vehicle that generates cash, not sucks up cash. There it is, right there on one PowerPoint. We find a buyer, we get a contract, we have the title company do a title search. Then we put it on the market by running simple ads on Facebook and Craigslist. Then we choose the buyer to seem the real one, and they'll give me my price. And then we send it to the title company, and they do the rest. And we don't do anything except wait for the title company to send us they're going to wire you the money along with the closing documents. And then you do it again and again and again and again. Like I said, I know people do 1,000 of these a year.